Hello everybody, I am back with another video. This is my first ever race at Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana. I will tell you right now, my voice is kind of screwed up, but I'm going to forge on through as I want to get this video out in a timely manner since the race. I was super excited to go out there. I've seen plenty of videos of this track. I've got friends that race out there, and I like that it looks like a somewhat wide open track, so I'd been itching to get to the Newcastle for a while. And, this was the perfect time to get out there. It was a Sunday race. They had a doubleheader that weekend. There was a race on Saturday and then on Sunday. The format was 2 practices, a qualification, qualifier, and then a 12-lap final. Now, the lap times on this layout were around, roughly a minute and 30 seconds. Most people are a little bit under that, but as an average for how it would come out, that's about where it was at. So that is a long lap. The longest laps I've ever driven. I think when I did Battle of the Brickyard, I don't believe our lap times were over, near the minute-and-a-half point. So we're out on the lead-out lap. Sorry about that. That's probably going to happen a few times in this video. But this is a part of the KRA series. This is race 8. 2022 season, and this is the Masters class. Weight class, the weight limit for this one is 370 minimum. I'm typically running at 390 and above when I race at the OVKA or MCC, so I got to pull a few weights off my cart, a little easier getting it on and off the cart stand. But as for qualification, I actually did okay. I thought I was, like a second and a half off probably the fastest guy, maybe 2 seconds, I think. But we had 30 entrants. I'm not sure that everybody made it out for qualifying, but I ended up qualifying 17th, which was, not too bad. Some of my friends that race there, I actually got a little bit ahead of them. Now, right in front of me, as you can see, we've got Tad Stahl. He's got his YouTuber channel out there. And then I've got the Monson brothers behind me from Beyond the Karts. They both put some YouTube kart racing content out there. So I was in a video sandwich out here. But I subscribed to both their channels, and we talked about that kind of stuff a little bit before the race took off. But I'm pretty psyched now. This is a lot of karts. At the OVKA and MCC, it's usually 20, a little bit under 20, but we had more than that on this, and the speeds are higher. The gearing, I had to gear higher. I got to thank the Monsons for helping me out with some data prior to, since they've raced there a decent amount. They gave me a pretty good heads up on gear ratio setup. And for qualification, I had one less tooth. I put a gear on or a sprocket on with another tooth just to get a little bit more, acceleration. All my times progressively got faster. So unfortunately, you don't really, when you're learning, you don't get super fantastic data because you figure the track out, and most of your improvement is just going to come from learning the track. That won't have much to do with setup or handle, messing with the width of the rear end or the front end or anything. But we're off. I'm slacking. We're off. That little chicane is not you. This is a layout. I tried to find video of this layout on YouTube. There was none to be found. So I'm probably the first person, one of the first people to put this layout out. So I got a good run around that first hairpin and got past Tad Stahl. Fairly, the pass, he gave me plenty of room, so I wasn't sweating getting bumped out. And to the best of my knowledge, I'm not even sure if we have any crashes. I don't want to, let the cat out of the bag and throw some spoilers in there, but I didn't see any crashes personally. But we're taking off. I still have people in sight. When we come back around by the start-finish, I'll kind of talk through the lap. With it being a big track, I can actually, talk about a curve before I get to the next curve. They're not totally stacked upon each other. We were reaching speeds of 55. Some people, I'm sure, were going 56 or 57 miles an hour. On my gearing, I was tacking out around 55 miles per hour. But we're getting close to the end of the lap. This is, like I said, this is a 12 lapper. My fastest lap time will be on the 5th lap. I did end up getting in like a 128.7 or 8 or something like that. I think the winners actually were in the 126s, but, well, actually I think the winner never got in the 126s, but he still won. There were a few people behind him that got in the 126s. The vast majority of people were running lap times in the 127s and 128s. Okay, I'm sorry. We went past the start-finish line back there, went through that little chicane on the right. This is the hairpin. I don't know if they call that like the I-70 hairpin or not. But to me, that was a fairly quick and relatively easy one to learn. Mainly, you know, I'm trying to get my braking down a little bit better, but as far as, you know, figuring out what the good line is, it wasn't too difficult. These, I'm trying to go flat out around most of these right here. I have to blip the gas a little bit here and there. I'm running on MG Reds. I've not run too many races on MG Reds. Most of my driving's been on Hoosiers, and they are a little different. So I was a little bit, I wouldn't say I was 100%, you know, confident in what was going to happen going around corners, which, you know, I'm sure that's a common thing. But, you know, I didn't know if the tires were going to break loose or not, so I wasn't pushing it too hard. The last thing I wanted to do was drive an hour and 45 minutes from Kentucky to come here and crash myself out or do something dumb on the first few laps, because there is only one race. There was no pre-final. This is my one opportunity to race right here. So we're coming back around. Maybe I'll try that all over again. So we are coming around to the start-finish line. It is right there on the right. We hit the chicane. I'm flat out. I don't lift at all through here. Some people are kind of cutting through the grass a little bit. I was staying out of the grass. And then you just hammer it down. I was on the rev limiter a lot coming through that section. Again, ducking under here, and then it's another big long straightaway. And Tad got a pretty good run on me right there, and he's on my outside on the right. And he's going to cut over, and I'm looking at him, and I kind of blow that turn a little bit, although I didn't really lose too much momentum because I pulled back up on him, and the guys behind me, I got dusted. Makes me wonder if I should be taking that a little further out instead of in tight, which was what I was trying to do. But these are all flat-out turns for the most part right here. You might have to blip just a little bit. This was the corner that was giving me the issues right here. The one where I made that right back there. This part right here, again, this is coming to this corner up here is where a lot of passes were made. I sat up by those fences up there on the left and watched the races beforehand, and it's really long and sweeping. You can kind of try to straighten it out. Most of the people that were doing the best around it were actually coming very close to the grass on their right-hand side as they were coming around that big long sweeping turn. But it's still kind of hard to totally have it anticipated where you can, you know, keep your acceleration going, or your gas, your throttle all the way down to the last point when you really need to brake. A lot of people, I was kind of coasting into it a little bit, and then trying to brake a little bit right at the end. But I would imagine to fully maximize your speed through that big long sweeping corner, you know, you keep it full throttle up to a certain till the last point where you really have to hit the brakes, and then you duck on down through. So right now I've got a train behind me. Tad put a little bit of distance on me, but I'm trying to close it back up. I don't really realize those are both the Monson brothers right behind me. That's Dan and then Scott right behind him, and you know, they're right behind me. I think they might give me a bump up here and there. And this is a long race. Hopefully I won't run out of things to talk about. But again, this is the right-hander that I was, you know, sometimes I was hitting it decent, sometimes I was not. You go over this hill right here, and it's you know, you better not have knocked your momentum down, because, you know, you've got gravity working against you. So here's what I was talking about. I was keeping it on the right here when I was watching people from an earlier race. That seemed to be the way, and then you swing it out at the end and then come back around. But the key is to brake at the last moment possible and keep your speed up. There's a video out there, the Beyond the Kart guys, I think they put the full video out there, but they were helping a younger driver out there who races a lot over with the Trinity Karting group over there at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, MCC as I referred to it before. And he started, I think, last in the LO206. I don't remember if it's junior or sportsman. I think it was sportsman. And he drove pretty much all the way up to third place. It was pretty impressive. And he kind of you know, I stood there and watched the full race, so, you know, I do plan to come back, so I was, you know, taking note mentally. Unfortunately, he raced after I raced, so it didn't help me out during my race, but, you know, there's lots of places to pass on this. Although I didn't do a lot of it, there are a lot of places to pass, it seems like. And I was, you know, one thing I was thinking about it, you know, when you're out there doing this, you know, this is a 1.5-minute lap, basically. That's a long time to be driving, and, you know, just, you know, when you think about the math in it and all that kind of stuff, there's not a huge gap among people. I've been to dirt kart races around like a, you know, a little over a quarter-mile dirt kart track, and you'll have almost a full second gap between people driving. You know, they're doing a 16 or 17-second lap. You're going to have people run like a 16.5 and a 17.5. We're out here driving for a solid 1.5 minutes, and you have people that are only a couple of tenths off of each other. And so, you know, it's kind of amazing when you think about it a little bit that, you know, in reality there's not a gigantic difference between all this, although, you know, there is at the finish line, I guess. But I'm still trying to close in on Tad. He's doing pretty good out there holding me off. Right there, I was thinking I was kind of catching on him, but it seems like my exit wasn't as good. I'd have to say, probably about halfway through this race, I was kind of wishing I had a taller gear, because by now I'm a little more practiced. I would say, you know, I think all in all, with practice and qualification, I had about, about 12 laps under my belt when this race started. So now I'm hitting where I don't really have to try to think about what the turns are. And I got a nice little bump from the 23 right there. And he's got a line behind him. I did not realize that now that I have about, 6 carts behind me. And I'll get, look, I'm about 3-4 cart lengths ahead, but because of the way the turns are, and, the way you can brake, there's not a lot of good visual references in that last corner, and you think you're going as fast as you can be going, and you're obviously not, because someone will come blazing right up on you. Then again, like these turns here, pretty quick to learn. You don't have to worry, these don't take a rocket scientist to figure out how you need to go around them in comparison to some of the other ones. And that's obviously just flat out through here. I was definitely on the rev limiter a lot. Like I mentioned, I wouldn't have minded having maybe a little bit taller gear once I got the layout down pretty decent, because I was not closing up on anybody at the end based on speed. I mean, you could try to cut that gap by late and hard braking, but right there, I think I might have braked hard right there and almost slid just a tad. And right here, it might be this lap or the next lap, I was coming up close to Tad, and I think I blipped the gas a little bit. And this might be the corner where I mess up and I get past. Nah, not yet. It'll be the next 1 or 2 laps. I'm sure we've probably already gone past the 5th lap, which was my fastest lap. That's the one I think I got, like I said, a 128.7. Most of my laps were in the 129s. I think I started out the day, my very first practice session, I ran a 131 something or other, and then on the second one I got, no, I think I ran, I don't know, I might have ran like a 133 the first time out, then a 131, then I think I qualified in the 130s, like 130.1 or something like that, and then I got down to the 128s under race conditions. Now, as far as the facility, it's a very nice facility. I'm definitely going to do more races there. The sign-in was very easy. I registered online, no problems there. I got there, the check-in was quick and easy. Rolled my card up to the scale area since it was my first time there, and they gave it the once-over and gave me the, here's where I thought, I kind of got off the gas just a little bit because I didn't want to run into them. And it was probably kind of a weak move on my behalf. I should have just gone up there and tucked in right behind him and maybe gave him a little bump. But right here, I screw up going around this corner here and had to let off the gas. And I'm about to get mega freight trained right here. So I saw Dan come around me on my left, and I didn't realize his brother was coming around me on the right. So now I had like karts on either side of me, and then everybody came through. I just let off the gas because didn't really want to run into anybody. This being my first year doing this on my own, budget is somewhat of a constraint. I definitely have realized that I think about what I have to fix when I'm out there on the track. So I'm probably a little more cautious than you need to be if you want to do a little bit better. Hopefully next year, if I've got like a little stockpile built up of spare parts and things like that, it won't be that big of a deal. But when I hear people talking about putting in what axle they're going to run, I'm going to run my axle. I don't have like a bunch of them. I've got an axle, so I don't have all those choices yet. Which is hopefully next year I'll get maybe a soft, medium, and a hard axle. Right now I'm just rocking. I think it's a medium. But again, like I said back there when I got in that sandwich of go-karts, I definitely just played it safe there. I didn't want to touch anybody. So I kind of closed back up a little bit on these guys. Dan also kind of got the brunt of that whole thing too, because he was leading right behind me, and now all those other 3 or 4 karts got in front of him as well, so he really only improved, I think, by 1 position. I dropped, he lost other ones. He dropped back about 2 or 3 positions, because at the time that pass went down, I believe I was in 17th place. And now I'm in 21st place. And he's in 20th, and so he must have been in 18th. Yeah, so he lost 2 positions, and I lost 3 or 4. I don't know the math, but anyways. We are spread out a little bit right there. And we probably still have about maybe 4 or 5 laps to go. Oh, let me get back to the facility. So, it is a big facility, obviously. It's right off of Interstate 70. If you're coming from like Dayton, or if you're coming from Indianapolis, it's very accessible, it looked like. The grounds are pretty big, lots of space for your trailers, trucks, plenty of room to set up. I didn't really walk over to where the free pit area was. The Monsons were kind enough to let me pit with them, so that was a great help. And but they also have a big garage and clubhouse area. If I'm not mistaken, I got the gates open at 7. I was there a little bit before 7. But in the clubhouse, they have bona fide like little grill area. That you can go over there and order some food, and they seem to be open at 7 a.m. So, I've found in the past it's 6 a.m. and I'm trying to drive to a track on a Sunday morning, finding a place to get a bite to eat is tough. So if you go to Newcastle, it doesn't look like that's something you have to worry about. You can get a bite once you get there. They had a decent scale house. The grid area is pretty large. All in all, it was a pretty good time. So we're down to 2 laps to go. So we're about 3 minutes from ending this video. I will definitely be checking the schedule to see if I can hit another one of these races this season. I really had not considered coming to Newcastle when I was planning, my 2022 race year. But I'm definitely going to try to work in at least one other race here prior to the Grands. I guess the Grands, I think it's Cup Karts, the Grands are at the end of September. I'm going to make an attempt to get out here to this. It's a bigger event, so it's going to be a little more costly, but the big events are pretty fun. So this guy, he had a little bit of issues going something. I caught up to him there. I didn't really have the room. I probably could have tried to go around him, but I didn't want to have to drive in the grass to do so. And that brought the 2 back to me, but any chance of catching like the 23 and the 13 up there, they're pretty much gone because I've got, I had to slow down just a tad for the cart in front of me. But with him getting kind of a little bit, at this point in time, I'm not the biggest on understanding my kart as far as Well, right there you can see I'm going to be able to get around him. He didn't slow me down that much, but you know, the guys in front of us have definitely gapped us, and that brought the 2 right back into the picture as well. We're on the last lap, so now I know I've got somebody fairly close behind me, maybe 2 people. And I'm gonna be taking somewhat of a defensive line around here. I won't be swinging out super wide for anything. And I guess, as you can see, I can't tell what the number is, but the guy directly behind me, he kind of dipped the tire off around that last corner there, but it looks like he got a really good push from the 2, and they came roaring up on me. I had no clue. But the 2 was able to get around him, and you know, the time is running out though. Coming around to the area where I need a little more practice. I do okay on it right there, although the 2 is still coming. But I'm definitely going to stay down tight through this section right here. Not really giving anybody any room to get under me until right at the very end if they really want to try to stab it down in there. So anyways, that is the race. It was a heck of a lot of fun. I will be back, as I mentioned. I want to thank the Monsons for letting me hang out with them. Drove right through the grass there. Wasn't going to try to get all squirrely or not to go around it. No one's banging on my back end, and I'm feeling pretty safe to get around this portion here. But I will be back, and I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Sorry about my voice. Talk to you later.